I don't remember the siren. Just the silence after it. The kind that settles in your bones. The kind you only hear after a child dies in a fire. We lost the Henderson kid that night. Third floor collapse. Too much smoke, not enough time. Mason pulled me out before the second beam gave. He was shaking. Said my name 3 times before I answered. My ears were still ringing. I didn't go to the debrief. Didn't shower at the station. Just drove. Windows down. Wind slicing through the ash on my skin. By the time I pulled into our driveway, my hands were trembling. I just needed home. Needed her arms. Her quiet. The smell of lavender detergent in the sheets. The porch light was off. We never leave it off. I stepped in. The hallway light flickered. Faint scent of citrus and something else. Muskier. Like cologne. I called her name softly, Tess. No answer. The house wasn't empty. I could feel it. You learn to read smoke and heat, space and sound. Something was breathing wrong in that house. Holding its breath. Then I saw it. A shadow moved past the stairwell. Down. Into the basement. We never used the basement. Old furnace. Creaky steps. Damp walls. No reason for anyone to be down there, unless they were hiding. My body moved before my mind caught up. I grabbed the fire poker from the fireplace. Cold steel in my hand. Heavy. Familiar. Step by step, I descended. The smell got stronger. Sweat. Male deodorant. Leather. I reached the bottom. Boots. Black, steel-toed. Size 12. Not mine. My heart beat slower, but harder. Like something inside was trying to break its way out. Then. I heard a breath. Close. Controlled. Too calm for a stranger. I yanked open the furnace closet. And there he was. Mason. No shirt. Barefoot. Eyes wide, lips parted. He didn't speak. He didn't have to. Something inside me cracked in the quiet. But I didn't swing. I didn't shout. I just whispered, "How long?" And from the top of the stairs, Tessa's voice shook the ceiling. "Since your promotion." I didn't go back up the stairs. I sat down. Right there on the concrete floor, beside the boots that weren't mine, beside the man who once dragged me from fire. Mason didn't move. Neither did I. The furnace buzzed low. One exposed pipe hissed quietly, the kind of sound that usually blends into life. But not that night. That night, everything hissed. I finally looked up at him. Sweat on his chest. A scratch on his collarbone. A purple mark at the base of his throat, not from a fall or a rescue. He followed my gaze, then looked away. Shame, or calculation. I waited for rage to come, for my hands to tighten, for the weight of betrayal to crush my ribs. But it didn't. What came instead was clarity, an eerie, cold version of it. Like when you realize the house is already gone and there's no saving it. Then her footsteps. Bare. Cautious. One step. Pause. Another. Like she wasn't sure if I'd already burned the whole place down. I heard the whisper of her voice. "Eric, please." She stood at the top of the stairs. A robe clutched around her. Hair damp. Not from a shower. From sweat. She didn't look surprised to see me sitting there. Didn't scream. Didn't cry. That hurt more than anything, how prepared she seemed. "Tess," I said. "Go back upstairs." She didn't. "You knew this would break me," I said. Her lips parted, but no words came. Only silence. Heavy. Pregnant with everything she wouldn't say. Mason slowly stood up. He opened his mouth, but I cut him off without even looking at him. I trusted you with my life. Still no answer. I named you Godfather. He finally spoke. One word, I'm sorry. It rang hollow. Like a smoke alarm after the flames have eaten through the walls. I stood. My knees ached. My back pulsed from the shift. My marriage had already crumbled before I even touched the doorknob. I walked past him. Up the stairs. Past her. She moved aside. Her eyes searched mine, for anger, for forgiveness, for something. She found nothing. I went to my daughter's room. Empty. The ballerina night light still glowed by the wall. I sat on the edge of her tiny bed. I could still smell her shampoo. Strawberries. Innocence. I pressed my forehead to my hands. And I cried. Not loud. Not the kind that chokes. Just quiet, bitter tears that slid down without heat. I don't remember the last time I cried. I'd seen people burn. Held broken bodies. But this was different. This was something personal, and it came from a place I didn't even know existed. Then something strange happened. I laughed. Just once. A sharp, broken breath that didn't belong to me. It escaped before I could stop it. Because of course it was Mason. Of course it was her. The two people I counted on when the world got loud and dangerous. The two people who smiled when I brought home medals. Who threw parties. Who toasted to loyalty. What a joke. My phone buzzed. A message. From Tess. A photo of our daughter asleep in the back seat of her car. Caption, she doesn't know anything. Please don't say anything until I get back. I stared at it for a long time. Then zoomed in on my daughter's wrist. A birthmark. Faint. Familiar. A tiny crescent just below the thumb. Like Mason's. No. No, no, no. I rushed to the cabinet. Top drawer. DNA test kits, the ones I got during a department wellness seminar. Swab, seal, send. My hands shook. But I did it. Not because I already knew, but because I couldn't not know anymore. I didn't sleep that night. I lay in my daughter's bed, knees curled up like I used to after long night shifts before she was born. The silence of the house pulsed like a wound, too still, too tense. Every creak of the floor above made my muscles clench. Every gust of wind outside made me reach for the phone to check if the test was processed. But that's not how DNA works. It takes time. And time is cruel when you don't trust what's real anymore. The next morning, Tess was gone. So was Mason. I checked the hallway camera, something I installed years ago after a string of burglaries. I watched them leave together just before sunrise. Not a glance back. Not a kiss. Not a touch. Just quiet departure. Cowards don't always slam doors. Sometimes they just disappear while you're still bleeding. I took the day off work. Told the station chief I had a concussion from the previous shift. He didn't ask questions. We're not trained to talk about the mental stuff anyway. Just patch it, suppress it, and go again. But I needed clarity. And clarity meant reconstruction, the kind we do after fire investigations. You start with the origin. So I built a timeline. The promotion, that was the spark. A month after it, Tess stopped coming to the station dinners. Said she needed more rest. But that was when she started yoga. Mason's wife, Claire, had introduced her. Except Claire moved out 6 months later. Said it was irreconcilable stress. I remember Mason looking hollow during those weeks. Said nothing. Drank more coffee than usual. Lost weight. I called Claire. She didn't answer. But I left a voicemail, I think you know. And I think I need to know what you've been holding back. She called me that evening. Voice flat. No emotion. You think this started 2 years ago, she said. Didn't it? She sighed. Mason never touched me after that night at your house. After Tess started calling him for help with Ava's school projects. After he said she was easier to talk to than me. You knew. Of course I did. I found her bracelet in his gym bag. Not the kind of bracelet that falls off. The kind you take off. I felt the rage rise, not for Claire. But for myself. For being so blind. For missing the signs that were always there. Claire wasn't finished. Eric, did you ever wonder why Mason insisted on being Ava's godfather? I paused. My mouth went dry. He volunteered. Exactly. Those words clanged around in my skull like brass fire bells. When Tess got pregnant, we hadn't been planning. It happened fast. Too fast. She said she wanted to wait. Then she didn't. I remember thinking she changed her mind because I'd just made lieutenant. It felt like a gift. But now, it felt like a setup. I opened my encrypted email. The lab confirmed receipt of my sample and Ava's toothbrush. Results would be available in 72 hours. 3 days to rehearse grief. That night, I went into our bedroom. It smelled like her. She'd left it untouched, maybe hoping I'd be too broken to step inside. But I was past the break. I opened her nightstand drawer. Beneath a folded scarf and a book of poetry, there it was, a small leather-bound journal. The pages smelled like lavender and ink. The handwriting was hers. Neat. Looped. Familiar. The first entry was dated 4 years ago. I think I married the wrong man. Mason sees me. He listens. Eric, he rescues strangers, but he forgets to ask me how I'm really doing. I kept reading. I didn't plan to love him. But love doesn't ask for permission. I'm scared the baby isn't Eric's. But Mason said it doesn't matter. That he'll love her no matter what. I wish I could believe him. I stopped breathing. And then, the final line, ink slightly smeared. If Eric ever finds out, I hope he remembers the man he used to be. Before fire turned everything to ash. She knew. She knew she was setting me on fire. And she hoped I'd survive the smoke. But what if I didn't? I couldn't stop staring at the journal. My eyes blurred from the pressure behind them, but I couldn't look away. Her words were like ashes in my throat, soft, weightless, and impossible to swallow. They didn't burn. They choked. I put the journal down and stood in the center of our bedroom, my bedroom, the place where I held her, laughed with her, kissed her skin under the slow dance of Sunday sunlight. How many times had he touched her here? I looked at the bed. The blankets. The floor where her heels sometimes fell when she was tipsy from wine. I tried not to picture it. But the brain doesn't take orders. The image came anyway. His body over hers. Her lips parted, breath trembling, the soft sound she made when my hand slid under her shirt, now offered to someone else. But what haunted me wasn't the act. It was the way she might have looked at him. The way she used to look at me, eyes wide open, trusting, as if she were handing me her whole soul and asking nothing in return. Did she give him that look? I stepped into the shower. The water ran hot, almost scalding, but it didn't wash anything away. I scrubbed my skin until it hurt. Until it felt like I might peel myself clean. But no soap can erase betrayal. That night, I poured whiskey. Sat at the kitchen counter. And dialed a number I hadn't called in 2 years. Her name was Wren. A paramedic I once worked with, stationed across town. She was bold, funny, sharp with her words but soft when you didn't expect it. We'd flirted once. Back when Tess and I were still trying to reconnect. Ren answered on the second ring. Eric? Her voice was warm, but cautious. I didn't speak for a second. Then, do you want to come over? She hesitated. Now. Yes. Another pause. Then, I'm on my way. I didn't clean the place. Didn't hide the journal. Didn't rehearse what I'd say. I just waited. And when the knock came, it sounded like a dare. She stepped in wearing a denim jacket over a dark tee, eyes scanning the room like a medic on a call. She saw the whiskey. The heavy silence. Me. She didn't ask. Just stepped closer. The first touch wasn't desperate. It wasn't wild. It was curious. She brushed her fingers down my wrist, found the edge of my hand, then pressed her palm into mine like she was checking a pulse. Her breath slowed. Mine didn't. She leaned in. Her lips touched mine, soft, tentative. The kind of kiss you give when you're trying to pull someone out of a dark place, not fall into it yourself. She didn't taste like Tess. She didn't move like Tess. And that mattered more than I expected. We never made it to the bedroom. It wasn't about sex. It was about proximity. About needing another heartbeat close enough to remind me I was still alive. We lay on the living room floor, our faces inches apart. The night hummed outside the window. She touched the scar on my shoulder, the one from the engine room collapse, and whispered, "She didn't deserve you." But I didn't believe her. Because the truth is, I wasn't perfect either. I'd been gone. Emotionally. For years. I saved strangers and came home empty. I left Tess alone with a child, with loneliness, with a husband who only touched her after adrenaline crashes and funeral weeks. I looked at Ren and said something I hadn't said aloud to anyone. I think Ava might not be mine. She exhaled slowly. Rolled onto her back. Stared at the ceiling. You need to know. Either way. I nodded. The results come in 2 days. She turned her face toward me. Her eyes were quiet. And then? I don't know. Because I didn't. Did I fight for my daughter, even if she wasn't biologically mine? Did I expose Tess? Destroy what little illusion was left? Or did I disappear, like they had, leaving Ava in a house built on lies? Ren left before sunrise. She didn't kiss me goodbye. Just squeezed my hand and said, "Don't let their betrayal become your legacy." I sat alone again. The silence returned. This time, it wasn't empty. It was waiting. 2 days later, the email came. Subject line, DNA results ready. Sender, Genetica LabCorp. I didn't open it right away. I stared at the screen, heartbeat stuck somewhere behind my ribs. Outside the kitchen window, birds landed on the frozen branch of the maple tree Ava loved to climb. Innocent. Unaware. A notification blinked again. I clicked. Waited. And then I read 3 words I already knew in my bones. Probability of paternity, 0%. I didn't cry. Didn't scream. Didn't throw the laptop across the room. I just sat there. Let the words wash over me like flame over soaked wood, slow, patient, destructive in silence. I wasn't her father. Not by blood. Not by biology. But in that moment, none of that mattered, because the second betrayal hit harder. It wasn't Tessa's affair. It wasn't Mason's lie. It was what I did next. I got in my truck. Drove across town. Gravel hissed beneath my tires like the slow whisper of something ancient and cruel. I didn't call Tess. I didn't warn her. I pulled into Mason's driveway. and saw Ava's pink backpack hanging from his porch railing. It swung lightly in the wind. Left out in the cold. I rang the doorbell. No answer. I knocked harder. Still nothing. I was about to turn back when I heard it, a small giggle from inside. Her voice. Ava. I pushed open the door. It wasn't locked. Mason sat on the couch. Ava was beside him, eating a bowl of cereal, legs swinging over the edge like she belonged there. She looked up. Daddy. That word. That word. My knees almost gave out. I forced a smile, walked inside. Mason didn't move. His expression was pale, guilt seeping through the edges. I was going to tell you, he said. I ignored him. Sat beside Ava. She leaned into me, completely unaware her whole world was about to shift. I made cereal for Daddy Mason too, she said proudly. My stomach twisted. Daddy Mason. She'd been here before. Many times. Enough to have language for it. Rituals. Comfort. I felt something rupture inside. She doesn't know, Mason said. We didn't mean for it to happen like this. You've been seeing her behind my back? I asked, barely hearing myself. No, he said quickly. Tess brought her here, when you were on shifts. I didn't invite it. I swear. But when I saw her, Eric, she looks like me. I thought maybe. She's your daughter. I snapped. He didn't answer. Ava was humming now, fingers tracing the cartoon pattern on her spoon. I stood. My body felt like someone else's. My limbs moved slow, like underwater. I looked down at her and wondered, does she deserve to lose 2 fathers in 1 week? Because that's what this was. This wasn't just about me anymore. It was about a child who had no say in the wreckage we built around her. I turned to Mason. I'm not going to destroy her world, I said. He blinked, confused. Not today, I added. And then I walked out. Halfway down the driveway, I stopped. My phone buzzed again. A voicemail. From Claire. I pressed play. Eric. I didn't want to say this before. But Mason, he lies. Not just to you. To everyone. When we divorced, he said it was because of stress. The truth is, he was caught. There was another woman. Not Tess. Someone else. A younger girl. 19. He denied it. Swore it never happened. But I found proof. She was pregnant. My blood ran cold. He said he didn't want the baby. That it would ruin everything. The girl vanished. Moved states. I never told Tess. I thought maybe he changed. But you need to be careful. He plays the long game. I stopped walking. Looked back at that house. That pink backpack. That bowl of cereal. That lie. What if Ava wasn't his either? What if Tess didn't know who the father was? What if none of this was what it seemed? I thought I was the betrayed one. But what if the man hiding in my basement was hiding more than just guilt? What if Tess was just the surface, and the real fire hadn't even started? That night I sat in the truck outside a church. Not because I'm religious. But because the building was quiet. Solid. Real. I needed something that hadn't lied to me. I held Ava's drawing in my hand. She'd made it a week ago, all of us smiling. Me. Tess. Her. A big yellow sun above us, and under her stick figure version of me, she'd written, my real dad. That word. Real. What does it mean? Blood? Genetics? Truth? Or the man who carried her in his arms when she scraped her knee? Who sat through dance recitals, and nightmares, and the flu? The man who missed meals to afford her violin lessons. Who memorized the name of every plush toy she ever loved. I looked up. The stained glass window showed a mother holding her child. I felt something break again. But this time, it didn't feel like ruin. It felt like release. I went home. Tess was there. Sitting in the kitchen in silence. Her robe was wrinkled, face pale. She didn't look up when I entered. Only spoke once I poured coffee. "I never meant to hurt you," she whispered. I didn't answer. I didn't know at first. I swear. About Ava. About Mason. It was all. She trailed off. I sat across from her. "I don't care about Mason anymore," I said. "And I don't care about you and him." Her head lifted, just slightly. "I care about her." Tess nodded, slowly. Her eyes watered. "I was scared," she said. "Scared if I told you, I'd lose her too." I studied her. Not the woman I married. Not the liar. Just a human being, cracked and small and terrified of being alone. "I'm going to stay," I said. "Not for you." She flinched. "But for Ava. She's still my daughter. In every way that matters." Her voice trembled. "Even after everything?" "Yes." Then I stood. "Here's the deal. You tell her the truth when she's old enough. Not your version, the truth. Or I will." Tess swallowed hard. Nodded. "And Mason?" "I'll handle him." I walked to Ava's room. She was asleep, arms wrapped around her stuffed elephant, lips slightly parted. I brushed a hand through her hair and felt something loosen in my chest. Not forgiveness. But something close to peace. I kissed her forehead. She stirred. Eyes fluttered open. "Daddy?" "Yeah, baby. It's me." "I had a bad dream," she murmured. "It's over now," I whispered. "You're safe. Some fires don't end in flames. Some end in choices. And I chose not to leave her in the ashes." Weeks passed. Routine returned, or something like it. Ava and I ate breakfast together again. I took her to school, picked her up, read to her at night like I used to before the lies thickened around us. Tess stayed in the house, but something in her had gone quiet. She moved through rooms like a shadow, helpful, soft-spoken, apologetic. But distant. As if she knew that I was only half there now. That some part of me, the part that used to reach for her hand in the dark, had died the night I opened that basement door. One evening, I finally opened the last drawer I hadn't touched since everything broke. The locked cabinet in the hallway. The one where I kept old hard drives from the house security system. I hadn't looked at them. Not after I caught Mason. Not after the DNA results. I thought I didn't need more proof. But something gnawed at me. I plugged in the oldest drive. Scanned through clips. Nothing for months. Then, a glitch. A clip misdated. 3 years ago. But the timestamp was wrong. The lighting was recent. I opened it. It was a hallway angle. From just outside Ava's room. In the video, I saw Mason. Not 3 years ago. But 2 months before I found him in the basement. He was tiptoeing past Ava's door. Shirtless. Socks. Carrying shoes in one hand. He looked into her room. Paused. Then turned toward the guest room. I scrubbed forward. 30 minutes later, Tess stepped out after him. Her hair was messy. Robe loose. No sound. Just a look on her face I'd never seen before, not on her. Empty. Like she was walking in someone else's dream. I leaned in. Paused the frame. And that's when I saw it. Mason wasn't alone. Ava followed him down the hall. Tiny. Barefoot. She reached out to take his hand. He didn't notice. She stopped. Watched him go. Then turned back to her room. No words. Just a moment. And in her face, something that tore through me. Recognition. She knew. Not the facts, maybe. Not the betrayal. But something inside her had already broken. I closed the laptop. Sat in the dark. And realized. It was never about whether she was my daughter. It was about whether I could still be her father, knowing she'd been watching it all along. The silence. The distance. The absence of truth. And I hadn't just failed as a husband. I'd failed as her protector. We always talk about fire as destruction. But sometimes, it's the only way to see what's been hiding in the walls. Now that everything's burned, maybe it's time to rebuild. Not for her. Not for me. But for the little girl who once called a stranger daddy. And waited for someone else to come home.